Thank you for joining the webinar today. My name is Raquel, and I am the program manager for CaFÉ. In today's webinar, I will go over the process of setting up calls for entry in CaFÉ. So those of you that are already familiar with the process, congratulations. I'm happy to know that you are still interested in learning a little bit more. For those of you that are new to the process, you're going to find this a very easy thing to do and very informative. So thank you for joining us. The main key items that we will cover today include entering the call information into CaFÉ, building the application, setting up entry fees, managing received entries, and setting up the jury and adding jurors. So one of the first things to do to create a new call or set up a call is to actually request that template be created for you. So how you request that call form, you'll find that in your help center. So if you look over in the left-hand menu, you can go to the help center under call setup. This is just the request form that I'm going to show you here is the link how to request a new call. So this new call request form will open up the form, the online form that you can use to submit that request to us. You'll fill out each field, select your jury type. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Depending on a type of application you need, you'll select your either scoring by application or scoring by art. I think most of you are familiar with this jury type question. If not, the reason we ask is because this will determine the configuration of your entries as they are received. And so scoring by art is used when you need to select single pieces of art. Scoring by application is used when you need to select individual artists. We can go into more depth if you need to, or you have questions about that. But basically, it's, if you're scoring by art, it's because you're curating an art for gallery show, you're choosing artwork for an auction, you're judging art for an exhibition, you're picking art for a poster competition, those sorts of things where art is the thing that is to be judged. And then scoring by application is what you would select if you're qualifying artists for a public art project, for example, or you're issuing grants to artists, or you're recruiting artists for residency, or if you're evaluating photographer portfolios. So the key there is the artist evaluation. So once you determine, your selection there for jury type, you go through and complete the rest of the form requirements. This form is just really getting a sort of fulfillment order for us that we receive on the CaFÉ side. That is what we use to actually set up your template in the system, right, on CaFÉ. And that's what you go and edit when it's been set up for you. So the request form is just it's a baseline information. It's not your whole call information. It's just saying, hey, I need a new call template. Here are some baseline details. Then we go in and fulfill that order. And then you go into your CaFÉ account and actually complete the rest of the setup. And that's what I'll go over next. When you log into your CaFÉ account, here I am in my local organization account. Your event is listed under events management. And then your current event or the requested call will show in your current event list. From there, you can access the call editor. And the call editor is where you will input your call details. In the call editor interface, you'll have 3 tabs available to you across the top, right? So event information, application editor, and product editor. So these are just sort of some consistent menu items that you have across the horizontal sort of top of the page. The overview boxes here is just that they're overview, and it's pulling in data that we input into each of the sections. You'll see where this overview data is coming from. You're not editing the overview boxes. These are just read only, but I'll show you where you'll be editing that information. So if we look on our event information page, you'll see a few boxes or boxed sections. They're all titled organization details, call listing details. Within that, we'll also have other sections such as call name, short description, long description, etc. So your task is to enter the information that is specific to your organization, and 2, to your call for entry. Under organization details, these things are required in order for the organization details to be complete. So we need your organization name, we need a website address, we need an email address, we need your city, your state, your call type, and eligibility. This is information that that your listing will include because artists want to know, who is sponsoring the call, how can I, reach their website, how can I contact them if I have additional questions about this program or project or event, and then just the location. The city, state, call type, and eligibility are filter criteria. So all listings on CaFÉ can be filtered by state. They can also be filtered by call type. They can be filtered by eligibility. So it's really important that you complete this section down below in the organization details, because this is what artists can use to filter calls. All type is a predetermined list of just very broad types of opportunities. They're not granular in any way. They're very broad. So we ask that you select a type that is the best fit for your event. Same thing with eligibility. These are very broad eligibility terms. So we ask that you select one that best fits your call. We do have an unspecified option if you're not sure, if you choose not to be more specific with the criteria, you could choose unspecified, but we ask that you at least try to find something that matches your event. The next section on this page is the call listing details. This is a critical component because this is actually what the artist reads on the call listings page. And so you'll want to make sure that you fill in each of these sections, starting with the title or name of your call. And these boxes are typed. You can type into these boxes and edit. So if you need to change your call name, you can certainly do that at any time. If there's a typo or anything like that, these boxes are editable to you. The short description is 1,000 characters or less. We ask that you just select a brief paragraph that clearly describes what the call for entry details and what the call is about. So this short description appears on the CaFÉ call listings page. So every listing has a short description. The next box is a long description. This is where you have an opportunity to really flesh out the details about your call for entry. Where the short description is a teaser, the long description is going to have the full prospectus details. So details might include the You could repeat the summary that you used in the short description. That's totally fine. In addition to expanding on that information, exhibition theme, juror information, a calendar or timeline of the opening and closing dates, any other criteria, your jury process, selection criteria, anything that is relevant that will convey what this project is about to the artist. Also on this section is the application requirements. So as you can see, these are separated out to be able to give you the ability to, enter each of the components that make up that call listing. So the application requirements, whatever they may be for your specific call, go ahead and outline those requirements. It could be as short or as long as you need that to be. Same thing with the eligibility and your rules and terms to apply. All contests, all art contests, competitions, exhibitions, RFPs, RFQs, whatever you call your event has rules to apply. And so this box here at the end is for your rules and terms. Again, it could be as long as a one sentence, or it could be, 10 paragraphs of rules and terms. Regardless of the size or the verbiage in your rules and terms, make sure that you never leave this section blank, because it is what the artist has to agree to if they want to apply to your event. It is actually a page that asks them, do you agree to these terms? Yes or no. If they select yes, it allows them to move forward to the next step, which is the actual application form. So, and again, it doesn't have to be legalese. It just could be very simple terms, as long as they're applicable to your event. Some additional options also on this long description section is the ability to upload a site plan or an interior gallery view, something like that, if that's something that you want to add to the application listing. And then for those that have a budget associated with their events, such as a public art commission that might have a $1 million budget, they can go ahead and enter that value into that box. Otherwise, it's not applicable to everyone. Each section has a save button. So you want to make sure that as you're typing in your data, that you save as you work through the process. What you don't want to do is enter data, leave for 20, 30 minutes, and then come back without saving, because it will not have auto-saved for you. Unfortunately, you will have lost that input. So just be sure to save as you're working through your description. The other section we have in here is related to important dates. As you can see over here on the right-hand side, this section asks for an accept application date. It asks for an application deadline date. We would have entered that information for you. And again, when you submitted that call request form, but verify those dates. Look them over, make sure they're correct. If you need to adjust them, go ahead and change the date to something else. If you need to extend the deadline date, you can do so before your call goes live. Keep in mind that applications on CaFÉ close at midnight in Mountain Time. We don't have a way to set it to your specific timeline. So just keep this in mind. It's still just set up to Mountain Time. And then jury dates. If you know your jury dates, go ahead and list those. You can also display these dates to applicants so they become part of your long description. So they'll be associated with the long description that you typed over here on the left-hand side. By displaying them, just make sure that you might need to stick to those dates. So, we give you the option to either show or hide that information. It's totally up to you. Again, save your data entry. Additional settings, and these are settings that are not applicable to everyone. They may be applicable to you or not, or maybe it's something that you want to use because you have some dates that are related to this. So, for example, under additional settings, you'll find an exhibition or activity date. Let's say you have a residency and it runs from June to August. That might be something that you want to, the dates that you want to enter here. Again, they become part of the long description. If these dates are not applicable to you, or maybe you already included a calendar timeline in the long description, this would just be redundant. That's fine. You can turn it off. You don't need to use these additional settings. The same thing with the invitational or private listing call. The invitational private listing is used to make calls private. You would set a passcode that the artist will enter on the site to find your call and apply. So if for whatever reason you are running a private invitational only call, that might be something that would be of interest to you. That way it's not publicly listed and you're not getting just random submissions, but you're getting submissions from just an invited group of folks. So again, if that's not applicable to you, you can certainly turn that off. And then the other option we have is the confirm, invite, and purchase date. These would only be used if you're charging invited artists an additional fees. For example, a participation fee or shipping fee after the jury process has completed and you have your list of invited artists. Again, if this is not applicable to you, it's a setting that you would leave off and turn off. And then also we couched in here this prevent artists from archiving. While the show is active, you just, or while the call is open and actively collecting applications, you want to leave that on. It's a back-end setting that we use to ensure that artists can't archive their entries while they're being juried. It will update automatically once the jury is complete. So this is just really not a feature you have to worry about, but it is, we just show it for transparency purposes there because it is related to when the artists can remove their images from their accounts. Okay. All right. So the other thing here is once you've entered all this information on this page, and remember, this is just organization details. This is just call information. It is not the application form yet. This is just information about the call. We do have a preview right here at the top and at the bottom of the page. You can click preview, and this will allow you to preview the long description. And the long description will show all the information that you entered into the boxes. So not the short description, that is a summary that's on a listings page, but this is the call specific long description information. So the application requirements, the eligibility, all the verbiage that you entered for that call, as well as the legal agreement. The legal agreement will be a little pop-up box that shows the verbiage for those terms. Before I move on, I want to show you where we identify the jury type for the event. At the bottom of the additional settings is a jury type box. In here, you'll see that we've set this call for scoring by art. So this application will be single image applications or single image entries, and we'll give you a tour of that in a little bit. Next tab here is application editor. And this application editor is where you will build your application form requirements. So for those of you that require an artist statement, or perhaps you require a resume, a bio, anything like that that you need to collect, that is sort of the written component of the submissions, the application editor is where you will build out that information. On this page, you'll see the work sample requirements that you requested. So this is read only for you. You're not able to change these requirements. This is based on the information that you submitted to us on that call request form. So if you said that you needed a minimum of 2 images and a maximum of 5, that's the setup that we entered for you. On the right-hand side is the artist statement option. This is an on-off toggle feature. So if you turn it on, it becomes a requirement on the application form. If it's off, it is not a requirement on the application form. So just remember that if you need an artist statement, make sure that it's on, and then you can choose the length of that statement. And we count characters, we don't count words, so just be aware of that. If you want a very short statement, you would go with the 1,000 characters. If you want a very long statement, you would go up to the 5,000 characters. Just remember, your juror will have a lot to read, so just be aware of that. If you have some specific instructions about what you want addressed in the artist statement, you can certainly use this little box down here to write some additional instructions. Remember to save your section as you're entering information. Okay, next item here is the submission categories. Categories are not applicable to everyone. If you would like your entries sorted by category, then you can certainly turn on this feature and then start building out your category list. Now, categories only works if you have 2 or more categories. Category of 1 is not a category, it's just a thing. But a category of 2 things that are different, now you can start to build categories from there. Categories can be discipline-based. They can be like maybe county-based. For example, it could be a public art commission that is seeking artists from, counties in the locality. So maybe it is important for that entity to jury equal amounts of artists from each of those counties. So we've seen it used in that way. So however you want to categorize your applications, that could be your category. For photography, for example, it could be black and white category. It could be a color category. It could be a digital category. It could be analog category. So you get the picture of how you can build out those categories. Those categories are then used in the scorecard to divide those entries into those different categories. So they do have a purpose. It's not just to order them or for your own sake, although it can be for that, but it definitely is very useful in the scorecard if jurors need to score by category. Next item is the custom form questions. The custom form questions is where you'll build out the rest of the information, the rest of the requirements that you're asking or that you need the applicants to submit. How they're used or how the custom form question is used is you can collect resumes through the custom form question. You can collect a letter of interest. You can collect artist bio. If you want a different kind of artist statement, maybe that is not just a straightforward artist statement, and you don't want to use the option that we've made available, you want to sort of, write out your own, custom form question is a great place for you to do that. There are different types of form questions that you can build out on your form. Go ahead and click that. So there's 5 different types of form questions that you can build out. It can be a text box type question where the applicant inputs their answer into a text box. It could be a checkbox type question. Perhaps you have 3 or 4 options, and an applicant can choose one option or all options. There's also a radio button type question where an applicant can choose one or the other option. A drop-down list where the applicant can choose one item from that list. And then there's a file upload type question where the applicant uploads a file, such as a PDF or a Word document or an Excel sheet, as their answer to the question. So that would be used for like a resume or an artist bio or something that's lengthy like that. And so you can add as many form questions as you need. And you can decide which ones are required and which ones are not required. So if a resume is required, you would make sure that your question has the required toggle turned to on. If it is not a required question and the artist can skip it or they can answer it if they want to, then it would be an off requirement. Some people will answer it and some people will not answer it. Each question has the ability for you to enter some help, a little help icon, a little help information that shows as a help icon. Maybe it's a resume, and maybe the question is, please, provide a current resume, and you want to give some help indicator text on that form question. You can just say make sure it doesn't exceed 4 pages or something like that. But it definitely allows you to add some additional help text if you feel that your applicants would need that help text or guidance. You can also do conditional logic for any of these questions. For example, in our list of sample questions here, we have some questions that are related to membership. And depending on how they answer the question, it will reveal another question for that. So I'm going to go ahead and click preview so I can show you what a conditional question might look like. So this is a preview of the form question. So as you're building it, you can preview it to see what the artist will see. So this is really, really helpful. And I recommend that you preview as you're building out your form, your application form. Here's the artist statement that we've made available. Here are the form questions. One of the form questions that we asked that customized for this specific event is, are you a member? And there's 3 options to choose from, 3 little radio button options to choose from. Yes, I'm a member. No, I am not a member. Not sure if I'm a member. So depending on how you answer the question, it will reveal another question. So it's conditional on which option is chosen. If I am a member, the next question that'll ask me was, will you be attending the members reception? And I get 2 options to choose from, yes or no. Depending on which one of these options I choose will give me another option. So let's say I say, yes, I am attending, then it'll ask me, do you have dietary restrictions? If I say, no, I am not attending, that question goes away and I can proceed to the next one. So you do have the ability to do conditional logic on some of your or all of your form questions if you need to do that. Okay. There's no limit to the number of form questions that you can build out, and you're also not required to have form questions. If your event is just asking for work samples and they don't need an artist statement, they don't need a resume, etc., then there's nothing to build out for you to collect that material. But if you have other written requirements such as bio statements, resumes, form, questions that you want to ask. How did you hear about this call? Like, have you participated in our in our exhibitions before? Anything like that that you need to collect, then definitely take advantage of the custom form question builder, because that is how you will get the answers. After you've finished building out your application editor, you want to make sure that your entry fees, for those of you that charge an entry fee, I want to make sure that those are correctly set up. And again, we will enter this information for you from the call request form that you submitted. If you gave us the wrong information, we'll enter the wrong information. If you gave us the correct information, we'll enter it as correctly as we can. We're doing this manually, so we do make errors. We're human beings, just typing. And so we ask that you please review your entry fees to make sure that this is, these are the fees that you requested. The entry fee, whether it's a $0 cost or a $25 cost, it must be set up. So you'll always see an entry fee product entered as part of your event. There is the option to create a second entry fee. So maybe one is a member fee, maybe one is a non-member fee. So there you can include up to two fees. And then there is a media fee for those of you that charge for each additional work sample. You do have the ability to add your media fee. It's called media fee because it's charging for each additional image or each additional video or audio, whatever media it is that you are collecting. So the first $25 will be applied to the minimum of 2 images. And then each additional image over 2 will be charged $5. In this example, your fees might be a little bit different. For those of you who have used CaFÉ in the past, you're probably familiar with what we can and can't do with the products. If you have a very complicated tier fee, you know that we're not able to accommodate that, but we are able to accommodate most straightforward costs for entry. But if you have something that you need, talk to us and we'll see how best we can help you get close to your fees. So we always ask that if you have questions, to talk to us, because we've been doing this for a long time and we're able to help you get around some of the things that might be a little bit more challenging. There's a preview on the product page to allow you to see the fees that you've entered and the amounts, and then how they'll be applied to your media requirements. In this case, the entry fee of $25 is applied to the minimum number of images. So keep that in mind. The entry fee always applies to the minimum. The media fee applies to everything over the minimum. And again, if you have questions or need assistance with setting up your entry fees, talk to us and we'll help you out. But definitely always review your fees, because that's really important. It's your income revenue for the event, and we want to make sure that it goes it goes out and gets published correctly. You can also add coupons if you want to discount some of your fees, or do 100% for some of your applicants. You can create coupons for any of your products, and it's super easy. You can just do call it a free coupon. Create your code. I'm sorry. Say 100%. Or $1, you can do dollars too. And when you want your cost to, your discount to apply, and then which enable it, and then which product you want your fee to apply to. So your discount to apply to. So it is very easy to to discount any of those costs related to your application. Let's see. Again, make sure you save. Under actions, you have a green disk icon. That's your save. And your gray trash can is your delete. So once you've gone through and updated all your information, both the call listing details under event information and your application editor, and you've reviewed your product editor, and you are ready to publish this call, we ask that you click the Publish Call button, this big yellow button right here in the corner. And that will send an email to the CaFÉ team. We get daily publish calls, and so we try to set them up as quickly as possible. Typically we're pretty good about doing it before the end of the day, and publish your listing. But we do a quick review. We won't check for typos. We won't check for grammar, those kinds of things. There's some critical areas that we do like to look at, and that's, making sure that, your product editor is set up and your application form and your requirements on your call listing page. So if there's anything that's not completed or that might be a little bit, that we have questions about, we'll go ahead and email you and let you know that we did just a quick review and that we have some questions, and you can either say, yep, that's my intention, or I meant to do that, or nope, thanks for catching that mistake, and then it'll get fixed, and then we'll go ahead and publish the call for you. But while it's waiting to be published, it'll be in a pending or in a not published state, and then when it's ready to be published and you've hit your publish call button, we'll review it, and you will get an email confirmation that will include the call URL to use and that you can share with anyone to find the call. So that's kind of the process. And depending on your capacity and how quickly you need to get going, it really doesn't take that long to complete a call. Most folks have drafted their requirements, their call description, maybe in a Word document or Google Docs or something like that. And they're copying and pasting that information when they get to the CaFÉ call editor. And again, reviewing and hitting that publish call button doesn't really take that long. Once we publish it, it does automatically gets listed on the CaFÉ website. It gets listed with all the other 200 plus listings. If the application accept applications date is in the future, then it will actually appear on that date, or it will appear with the apply now button. Before that, it'll just be there without the apply now button, but it will open up the applications based on this accept application state. So just keep that in mind. If you want the apply now button to be visible on the day when it's published, just make sure the date is on the day that it gets published. Otherwise, it'll publish, it will have the apply now button on the accept application state. I'm going to leave the call editor. I'm going to hop on over to application management. We'll go ahead and go over managing received entries. While the call is open, artists can start applying between that accept application state and the application deadline. So that's their time span or time period that they have to apply. If artists have questions about the event itself that we're not able to answer because it's not a technical platform question. Maybe it's, tell me more about the juror, or, things like that are more organization based. We ask that the artist contact you, or we might connect the artist with you or provide your contact information that's listed in the call editor to the artist, and they can contact you directly. If they have questions about CaFÉ, navigating the CaFÉ website itself, that's more technical nature, how to log in, how to find the call, how to save an application, how to upload work samples, then that's something that they can contact our support team for. And as most of you know, or if you don't know, our office hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m. in Mountain Time. And that's when our customer support is available to assist artists. Okay, so let's say that your call has been open for a few days or a few weeks, and you have started to receive applications. Applications are received immediately. There's no lag between when the artist checks out and when you receive their application. So it's all happening in real time. If the artist has checked out, your applications will reflect that number of applications that have been checked out. So under application status, you'll see that in our example here, we have already 27 entries received. I'm going to click on that number or that status, and I get a drop-down list down below. Here, it's like a spreadsheet table. This shows the 27 total entries that we have received. And you'll see that it actually is 27 entries by 9 artists. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at your entries. If you're a juried exhibition and you requested 1 to 3 images or 1 to 20 images, just remember that the number of entries are the images, and it does not reflect the number of artists. That's a separate number, and you'll see that next to the number of entries. So that's the discrepancy there, if you're wondering. Okay, so for each received entry, the system assigns it an application ID, and you'll also see the name, the city and state of the applicant. You'll see the transaction date, the transaction details. This one, it has categories, so it's already the artist is the one that selects the category, and that's the category that they chose for their entry. And so that is that column here. You can flag, you can tag an application, you can write some internal notes for yourself if you want to. And this is a history you can also see a history. Under notes, there's the option to click this little clock icon. That will be a sort of a workflow almost, or a history of how this application got to receive status. So you'll actually see when the artist started it, when they moved to ready for submission, when it was received, and any changes that you may have done to the status. So it is tracking or logging that information. Each application ID number is linked to the full artist application. So if we click on an ID number, we're able to see the individual entry. And here you'll see the applicant profile information. There's application ID, their status, contact information, any actions you may want to take with this application. You can change their category if you wanted to. Now, the artist selected the first category choice when they were completing their form question. But if you, for whatever reason, wanted to change their category to something else, you actually do have the ability to do that. And you can add comments from here. You can flag an entry from here. You can create a tag for it. You can create up to 3 tags for it. They're just internal tags. And the artist doesn't see it. It's just internal use only. You'll see the answers to the form questions. Again, if you had a long list of form questions, you'll see your questions and the answers listed here in this section. And then you'll see work sample section. So you'll see a thumbnail, the category, you'll see some basic artwork information, title, medium, size, dimension, price, year created. The thumbnail is linked to it'll show a pop-up window and it'll show the enlarged version of that image. So wherever you see a thumbnail, you can click on that. As we're going through their application, you can also see there's a section for emails. In this example, we sent this applicant an email and the system recorded that email that we sent to them. We can click to view that email. So we always have a record of what we sent to the artist. And the date and the time. So if you ever need to look and see what you have mailed or emailed to an applicant, you can go into their application to look at emails. And then the last section is just reiterating that transaction information. From this page, you can go on to the next application. If that's something that you do internally, perhaps you do a review or a pre-qualification of all your applications. You can just keep going through each of those applications, or you can return to the application list. There we go. If you need to search for an application by name, by category, by ID number, or a different status, you can use this search by. If you want to look for only applications that you have tagged, you can filter by that, and it'll give you just those that you tagged. So it's just a little search, a little filter option there that you can use just to make things a little bit quicker when you're reviewing your submissions. In your list of statuses, you'll see that all the others are zeroed out. That is normal. All the applications that check out automatically go into the received status. Applications that go to jury are also in the received status. As you go through your workflow process of jurying and selecting the applicants, those in received will start to separate. You'll have your invited and your not invited applicants. So we won't go through the jury administration process today, but I just want you to know that all those other statuses are available to you. If I wanted to, let's say, change the status of this applicant, I could do that manually. Let's say I'm going through a review process before, like a pre-qualification, and I'm reviewing every single one of these entries. After I review it, I can actually change the status to reviewed, and you'll see that it has now appeared in the review status. Okay. We take that one back out, put it back in received. I reviewed it, now I put it back in received. And I did tag some applications. And I want to filter just by those that I tagged. You can see here in my list, if you go to the far right, you'll see that I tagged some of them with the word returning, new, 2D, generic tag, the one example I just did. And you can flag or unflag or change the tag or whatever you need to do there. Okay. Also on this page, you have the ability to view a slideshow of the entries. It is just an internal review for you. If you need to download contact information, application answers, or media information, which is the artwork detail information, you can select from those options. If you need to download a PDF of the applications, the entirety bulk applications, you can select that. A media inventory list, if you need to have a PDF with a thumbnail of the artwork and then the artwork details, the media inventory list is good for that. Some folks use that to maybe walk the gallery and make sure that the work that they received for the show is what was submitted in the call or the entry. So it can be like a checklist for you if you need to do that sort of thing. So, for example, if I wanted to download media inventory for my tagged applications, I could do that. Here's an example of that. So you see you have your thumbnail, the name of the namer of the applicant, the title, medium dimensions, whether or not the artwork is for sale, and the price, value, the year, and then the short description. So there is the ability for you to download that material if you need that. Okay, going back to the application. Once you have all your applications received and your call is now closed, the next step that you'll want to take is setting up your jury administration, setting up the jury and adding jurors. We've made it very easy for you to sort of follow the 1, 2, 3 steps with jury setup. The first thing you want to do when you're ready to begin your jury is set your jury to in progress. So how I got here was jury administration in your sidebar, and setup is your landing page. Under setup are your jury settings. Of course, you want to set your jury status to in progress, from not yet started to in progress. You get to choose your scoring rate, your scorecard style, how you want to sort the scorecard, whether or not it's a blind jury process, and your default round is, of course, round 1. If you need to hide some information on the scorecard, maybe it's not relevant to the review process in the first round or any round at all, you can definitely check any of these options, and they won't show to the juror. Same thing with your application form questions. Maybe some things that you requested on the form requirements are not relevant to the review process, so you can hide all that information. The juror doesn't have to sift through it or read any of it. And then adding your jurors is down here at the bottom corner. Adding a juror is very easy. If you already have a list of jurors, you can always go back to their profiles and set them up with a new event to jury. If they're brand new jurors for your event, you'll want to add them as a fresh new profile. You will create their username, their password. You will, finish out the requirements on that profile page. You assign them to the event that they're going to be scoring in. Maybe this juror is brand new, and so you have to select the call that you want them to jury. If it's a recurring juror or returning juror, you maybe want to unselect an old call and then assign them to a new call. You can update the username, the password at that point if you need to. But that is where you set up your jurors. There's no limit to the number of jurors that you can have. You can set up, one juror. You can set up 20 jurors. If you want to see the jury process on your own, you can even create a juror profile for yourself. So think about that if you're wondering, what does it look like on the juror side? What does the scorecard look like? What are these settings that I selected? What do they look like? What is a grid view? If you don't already have your own juror profile, go ahead and set one up for yourself. Even if you're not scoring, you can still log in and see the scorecard. And that's totally fine to do. The score rating, I didn't cover that, but it's a yes, no, maybe, a 1 through 7 or a 1 through 20. And then your scorecard style is slideshow view, list view, or grid view. And in our help center, we actually have a really great jury process section. So if you want to learn more in depth about what each of these items mean, you can certainly visit our help center, and any of our past jury administration specific webinars are also in our YouTube channel. We've gone ahead and covered all the key items that we were going to cover today. So we went over the, entering the call information into your CaFÉ template, building the application, setting up the entry fees, managing received entries, and setting up the jury and adding jurors. We will go ahead and wrap this up now. And if you have any questions, you can just always email us. Thank you so much.